Hey, hello all. Welcome to my channel DevOps Mela. So in this video tutorial, we'll talk about Django. So if you're following my channel in my last video, like we have walked through how to install Django on Windows. Now I will be launching my first web application using Django in this video tutorial. So let's go ahead and do it. So firstly, I'll be using a virtual environment. So how to install, how to set up a virtual environment, if you still want to know, please check my previous video. Okay, so let me go inside a folder called documents. In the document, I have a folder called Django created already. So in this, I'll be creating a virtual environment. So the command to create a virtual environment is virtual env, and I'll name it as virtual env. Env is my virtual environment name. So let's create a virtual environment first before I go and start with my Django project. It's always recommended that you create a virtual environment so that your project is separate from your local work, what you do. But even though if you don't want to create a virtual environment directly on your local machine, if you want to go ahead and start the project, even that is okay. It's totally your call. I prefer using a virtual environment. So let's go inside and activate the virtual environment first. This is the path. Under environment scripts, activate.bat. If you run that, your virtual environment would be created. So we are inside the virtual environment. First come first, I'll install Django for my virtual environment. That is very much needed. So this will get me the latest Django. That is 3.1 right now. So that is getting installed. This complete setup I have explained in my previous video tutorial. If you have any doubts, any queries, please look over there. And if there are confusions still, put it in the comment box. I'll be happy to answer those questions coming from you guys. Okay, so it's been installed. We are good to go. So Django is installed. My virtual environment is activated. Let me open an IDE. So I would be using Atom. You guys can use it, PyCharm, Notepad++, whichever you like. I prefer using Atom editor. Let's close this for now. Okay, so let's create a project. Okay, so in order to create a project, the command is Django -admin start project. We'll name it as trial project. Okay, I'll name it as trial project. So we haven't got any output, but if you go and check the trial project folder, there's a folder created, and if you check inside the folder, there are multiple files inside it. I'll walk you through what exactly those files are. Now let me open my Atom editor. Okay. Okay, so if you have a look over here, so I have a trial project. This is my project container name, and inside this there's one more folder. This is how Django works. It creates an actual project inside inside your project name, inside a container name, I would say. So we have multiple folders inside it. I'll walk you through what are these folders. Before that, this particular name, this is a project container, and if you want to go and change it to something else, even that is you can do it, but you cannot change this particular name, this trial project. But that's our project name, and we'll have all our applications inside it. Okay, so let me explain you the difference between a project and an application. A project is nothing but wherein you have multiple web application. Okay, it will house your multiple application. Like in this series of tutorial, I would be creating a polling application. Okay, wherein there would be questions and there would be options wherein people will come and vote. For an example, who is a better captain in in Indian cricket team? So in that you'll get an option whether Dhoni, Virat, Saurav Ganguly. So people will come and give their votes. Okay, so this is what we would be creating in the complete series. Okay, so that is your web application. Okay, and your web application is housing inside a project, inside a folder called trial project. That's your project. That's your parent directory, you could say, and it is housing multiple application. Again, once the application is created, you can reuse those application. That is what Django is meant for, reusing your own application. Okay, so that is something very advanced. We'll talk once we go ahead in this series of lectures. So the basic thing is we have to start with with an project. So this is a project, and this project has multiple files inside it. Okay, so let's talk about that. That's init.py. It's an empty file that tells the Python that this is directly should be considered as a package. If you are working in Python, like if you have even a slightest of experience in Python, this particular file is mandatory, because this will tell Python to consider this particular project as a consider this particular thing as a Python package. Okay, that's why this file is mandatory. Setting.py. I'll talk about ASGI and WSGI later. Setting.py will have a complete setting information, like starting from your template, like how your template, if you want to define your template directory path, you can come and define it over here. If you're creating an application, like in my case, I would be creating a polling application, so that application information would be passed over here. Okay, we have some middleware, and as I talked about template information, so these are the template information. And we have some WSGI, that is web server gateway interface. And if you have a database, like by default it uses db.sqlite, and if you want to change it to MySQL, PostgreSQL, that information can be updated in this particular file itself. And there are many other information, like if you want to have some static page like your CSS file and those information, even those path can be specified and hard coded in this particular setting.py. Okay. urls.py is, you can define your URL configuration in this particular file, like in order to access a web page. Okay, so like you can define your URL, your home page and everything, which will go and check in backend the respective resources and it fetches for you. So you can define your URLs at this point. The most important file is manage.py. Okay, it's a command line utility that lets you interact with Django project in various ways. So we would be using this manage.py in a greater extent. All your Django startup, stop, everything is done using manage.py. That's one of the very important aspect in Django project. Okay, if you talk about WSGI, this is a web server gateway interface. So this is an entry for WSGI compatible web servers to serve your project. And again, ASGI is asynchronous server gateway interface. This is a successor of WSGI. So we'll talk about these two files in details when we move further in this project. Okay, so I hope we are clear till now. like what exactly these are, what are these files in project. So let's for this video tutorial, this is more of an introduction to project and web application. Let's create a small web application, and let's launch a web page for you so that you get an idea how we do it. Okay, so let's go and start a let's create a web application. Okay, before that we need to check if the project what we created, is it running or not. Okay, so the the command to check would be, it's Python. I'm using MS-DOS, guys, and if you want to use a Windows PowerShell for a better way of typing commands, so you can use it. It's totally up to you. So the command to check would be python manage.py. Again, it's a command line utility which is needed to manage the project. So I would be using it for run server. Okay. So if you run this, this is the output what you have. You have 18 unapplied migration. We'll talk about that. What are the migration is, what what is the role of migration. And if you check the last two line, that's starting development server. So by running this command, by just simple command, we have a web server up and running. Okay, so let's go and check that. Yeah, here we go. So the Django web server is up and running. So we are good to go here. So let's cancel it. Just do a control C and cancel it. And let's start a project now. Sorry, not a project. Let's start a application. Okay. So in order to do that, you have to write, say, python manage.py start app. Okay. This is the command to start an application. Okay. By default, okay, so start an application. So what application we want to run? Like, we have targeted that we need a polling application. So let's name it as polls. Okay. Okay, again, there's no output, but if you go and check inside it, we have a poll application created, polls. So it is created inside the container itself. So as I said, the trial project is a container. Inside it, we have all your application and we have a project created. Okay, so in this we have a similar set of files, init.py, to tell Python it's a package. We have some new files created like admin.py, apps.py, models.py, test.py, and views.py. I'll be walking through each and every, like, what exactly these files are and what it contains later in the lecture. The only thing we'll be referring for now would be this particular file, that's view.py. So what exactly is a view.py? Okay, view.py for now, if for just understanding, it is like http. If you send a http request to Django application, view.py is someone which will serve you that request. It will provide you with the response. Okay, for now just keep this in mind, and let's set up a simple web application for now. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll call a package from Python. So there are many Python package we can use, Python package, Django package, we can, which you can use it for your web application. Okay, so similarly, I would be using a package name as http response. So if I'm getting a request from the URL, if user is looking for sending a request, this particular view.py will give a http response to that request. Okay, let's check. So this is the package from django.http. I'll talk like how we are calling this package and everything once we move further, like bit advanced. Import http response. Okay, so what I'm saying, from Django is a package dot http could be a module. Again, it's a sub package, sub module, I would say. Import http response. So it is a well defined package bundled up, and it's kept for user utilization. So for now, so we are using this http response class for our web development. Okay, let's create a function. Okay, so I'm creating a function. So guys, if you guys have any sort of past development experience, so this would be very much easy for you guys to catch up like what exactly I'm doing. And if you guys don't have any development experience, I will request, please go and check Python, basic Python. You guys will understand what exactly I'm doing right now. Okay, so I'll name it as index. That's my home page. And in this I'll pass an argument called request. So we are taking a request from the user, and we are returning a response. So I would be using this http response which I was just created. And if you see, because of this atom editor, if I'm just typing stt, I'm getting the rest of the information. That's why I'm using this editor. If you guys like it, you can go and install from atom.org, or check it on Google. Just type atom for Windows. So this is you'll get an exe, next, and you guys can install atom on your machine. Okay, so let's I'm giving a response, hello, welcome to Django. Okay, so welcome to Django, that's it. So what I'm doing, a user will come and he will enter the 127.00. Welcome to DevOps Mela channel. Let's name it this way. My advertisement will happen. Okay, so before we still can't access this page because we have to update a URL configuration file, because till now yeah, the URL configuration file is not aware like exactly what we are doing. So we'll come back. I'll be using this, the project URL for this. Later once we are going forward, I'll make certain changes which you will like it. Okay, from polls dot views import index. So this is a URL pattern. I'll be covering this URL pattern in details. So for now, just keep this in mind, how to just see like this URL thing is very much needed. Like when I go and run 127 in my local host, so this will display the output which we are looking for. Okay, I'll be explaining this in details. We would be creating a separate URL file, because when we talk about plug and play, so if you're like, if I'm adding my URL in the project, so we are not following the plug and play principles. Okay, so we'll talk that. I'll walk you through in details in my coming lectures, but for now, the only target we want to display this particular thing on my home screen. Okay, when a user uh, checks log like checks a local host, it should get this particular thing as an output. Okay, let's see if it's running or not. Let's run the server again. Okay, so there's no error. If there's any error, this will throw an error right over here. So as if now we're not getting errors, so we're good to go. So we'll check this hyper URL again. Ta-da, here we go. Hello, welcome to DevOps Mela channel. Okay, and if you want to fidget around like in the URLs, if you want to give it as polls, because that's a name of an application, let's change it and let's check this again. So you're getting a screen where it's telling you either go to the slash admin or slash posts. Okay, so you're getting this output because you're in debug mode. We'll talk about debug mode later, but if you do a slash polls, you'll get the same output. Okay, so what exactly we did, guys, we walked through how to activate a virtual environment, how to install Django, and how to create a project mainly, and what are the files in the project, and second, how to create a simple web application, and how to create a home page, a simple home page using views.py. Okay, in my this is not the, let me tell you, this is not the way we create a views.py file. Okay, and we don't pass such http response directly in the views.py. We do it separately. We have a template folder wherein we put all these http templates and html templates inside it, and plus the way I've changed the urls.py over here. Even this is not the right way, because when we talk about Django, we talk about reusable applications. So if we are hard coding in your urls in your uh, project url.py file, so that would be very difficult. So we would be creating a separate url py file for each application, and why exactly we are doing it, I'll talk much in details later. Okay, for now, this is a simple web application what we launched using Django. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. I'm seeing there are many views I'm getting on my channel, but people are not subscribing. Please do subscribe, because I'll get motivated more, and I'll be posting more content. Please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.